Hello, 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 and welcome to my kitchen. My name is Beverly Lucas, and I am the host of For the Love of Cooking Fridays. What do I do on Fridays? I try my best to show you how to make a meal, a snack, a dessert. Whatever it is always better than the restaurant. You're going to have to trust me on this. It's always better than the restaurant. Today I'm making something, and I may have made this video before of this dish. I could have, but it doesn't matter because I'm making it today. I am making two types of lasagna. I am making a lasagna with meat, and that's going to be with beef and with Italian sausage. And I'm making a lasagna that is just full of vegetables. So I have my children with me for today, and one is a vegetarian, one don't eat this, one don't eat that, whatever. But I am the mom that is able to accommodate that. So today I am making two. So I'm going to introduce my ingredients to you, which I have right here in place. First, let me tell you, for the lasagna, I've made lasagna many ways over many years. And we have what's called the no boiling lasagna, or they call it the oven ready lasagna. And I am going to use this. I don't see a stark difference in the texture. The only thing about the oven ready lasagna is that it is not as fancy as the regular with the ridges. So this is my lasagna container, and as you can see, I have a lot of lasagna. So that is the star. That is a pasta that we're going to use. I have about a half a pound of ground beef. I have about a quarter pound of Italian sausage, and this is sweet Italian sausage, and this is just leftover meat that I had in the freezer. For my sauce, I'm using two ingredients. I'm using the Rinaldi sweet tomato, which I love. I love this with all of my pasta dishes. And I have a mild can of Rotel tomatoes. We're going to use that. So for our vegetables, this is going to be really different because I do have a lot of vegetables. I have cut up here some broccoli, and I cut it so that it is small enough so it won't be big chunks of broccoli. I have our family favorite, which is some asparagus, and I will cut off the tips, and then I'll cut it till about right there. And what I will do with the broccoli and the asparagus is I'm going to blanch it first. So if you watch any of my videos, you know that I always blanch green vegetables. And what does that mean? That means that I cook it in about a half a cup of water. It's half steam, half cooking, with a chicken bouillon cube until it just turns bright green. And then I take it and I give it a ice water bath so that it retains the color and it retains the nutrients. Also, for green vegetables, I have some spinach. And if you cook spinach, you know that this big old bag of spinach is only going to yield about that much spinach. So we are going to use that. For more vegetables, for both the meat and the meatless, we are going to use some mushrooms that I have cut up. I have some red pepper. I'm looking at color. So you have to remember that we eat with our eyes first, what we see. And when we see food in color, it makes it more appetizing, and it just makes our mouth water. So instead of using a red pepper, we're going to use a yellow pepper. And this is something that I never cooked with before. So this is just some eggplant. So we're gonna cut this up. Now for our sauce for the lasagna, for both, we're using ricotta cheese, and I didn't take the eggs out, but I'm going to use this container with one egg, and I'm also going to use some spices in there, like some Italian spices. I have some onions, of course, we need onions, and I have some fresh garlic. And then one of the stars of lasagna is always the cheese. So I have here some mozzarella cheese that I had actually in the freezer. So I had some frozen mozzarella cheese in that form, which is shredded. And I also had this, and I had wrapped it really good, so that was in the freezer. See, we use everything in this house. We don't throw anything away. Nothing goes to waste. I'm going to find a way to use it. And then I have some Parmesan cheese. So I think the only thing that I don't have here are the spices that I will use, like some thyme and definitely some basil from my garden, which I'll go get. I think that's it to get us started. So, are you with me? Are you really with me? Come on and take this journey with me. Okay, so I have to keep in mind that I'm making 2 different sauces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out with the meat sauce. So I am going to take my beef and I'm going to add it to the saucepan, which I already had heating up. And I'm going to take my sweet Italian sausage and I'm going to put it in at the same time. This makes its own. I don't need to put any oil or any butter or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this cook down. I'm going to add the onions and then I'm going to add the garlic last. So what I'm adding now is some Italian seasoning. And it's really important to make sure that your beef is seasoned the way that you want it. So it's very important that you taste it before you put everything together. So I have some garlic powder, even though I'm going to be adding garlic. I also have some onion powder, even though I'm going to be adding some onion. And I'm going to use some pepper. And we're going to put in some salt. And while we're waiting for that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut up our pepper and our garlic. Okay, so you can see here that our meat is still rendering its own juices. That's what I'll say. And I have already cooked and blanched our asparagus. And now I'm about to do the same thing with our broccoli. Again, it's about a 1/2 cup of water with a bouillon cube. And for this, I'm going to put the timer on for 3 minutes. And then we're going to put it in an ice bath. So for our meat now, it didn't render a lot of juices. You can see here, I don't think I need to pour anything out. So I think I'm going to add 1/2 of the peppers and 1/2 of our onions, because remember we're making 2. And I'm going to let that cook out. Then I'm going to add 1/2 of our mushrooms, which will cook down. One thing about mushrooms that I always mention is that mushrooms take on the flavor of whatever you cook it with. So even if you saute it in butter, it takes on the flavor of the butter. So I think everyone should love mushrooms. I'm going to add a little salt and pepper. And we're going to let it simmer down. At this point, what you want to do is you always want to make sure you taste the meat. When I tell you this is delicious, I'll bring it to you so you see what we have here. Yes. Okay, now that the meat is done, we are going to put in about 1/2 of the garlic. We'll save this one for the other one. And we're just going to stir it in so we can smell it. Now to the meat, I'm going to add half of the Rinaldi pasta sauce and half of the rotel. We're going to let that simmer. As my mother has taught me, always a little bit of sugar, especially when it comes to tomatoes. It cuts down on the acid, but it doesn't make it sweet. It neutralizes the flavor. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit more Italian seasoning on here. I'm going to let this simmer down while I prepare for our next sauce. Okay, for our next sauce, we're going to make it a little bit differently. I'm starting with some butter because I do not have any olive oil, but this is going to work. So we have our onions, we have the rest of our peppers, we have our mushrooms, we're going to let that cook down. Okay, I am adding the eggplant, which I've never used before, but you're just going to treat it like any other vegetable. And we're going to go ahead and put some onion powder and garlic powder. And we're just going to let that cook for a minute. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add my garlic now that everything is tender. Going to add some Italian seasoning. We're going to go ahead and we're going to add our sauce. And some tomato paste and some rotel tomatoes. And we're going to let that simmer. While everything is simmering, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get our ricotta mixture together. So I have two 15-ounce containers of ricotta. And usually I use 1 egg to each. So for this, we're going to use 2 eggs. And I'm just going to pour it in just like that. And here's my other egg. Thought I had it ready. Always pour it into a container first to make sure it's okay so we don't ruin our meal. So that is the second egg. Okay, so I have my eggs in here. And what we're going to do is we're going to add to the ricotta some pepper and some salt. Typically, I would use some fresh parsley, which I'll use to finish it up. But here's some dried parsley. We're just going to mix all that up. Combine it. This, I'm going to add about 1/2 cup of some mozzarella cheese. Look at that. I already knew. All right. Now here I also have our spinach. So our spinach is blanched. We have our broccoli. Our broccoli is blanched. And we have some asparagus. Asparagus is blanched. So now I am going to add those ingredients to our sauce. Bring you a little bit closer so that you can see what is going on. Looks like this. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to spray. I'll put some parchment on this one, but I'm still going to spray it. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to begin the layering of the lasagna. So I'm just going to take a little bit of the sauce like this, and I'm just going to spread it down like this, just sparingly. So it looks like this. And I'm going to just place 3, just like that. Then I'm going to take my ricotta mix. I'm going to do 3 heaping spoonfuls. And we're just going to spread it out. Now the box says that you don't want the lasagna noodles to touch each other, nor do you want it to touch the sides. And we're going to do 3 heaping. That looks so good. And we're just going to spread that out. Okay, so on top of this, we're going to do 2 things that's going to be different. Well, one thing that's going to be different. So we have our mozzarella, and we're just going to put it on top here. Just like this. This is about, I don't know, maybe a little more than a half a cup. Okay, when done, it should look like this. Then I also have some spinach. So we have spinach both for the regular lasagna and we have spinach for the vegetable lasagna. And this is that one complete bag of spinach, and I'm just going to toss it around. I'm not going to layer the spinach. I'm just going to put it on this one. And that's going to give it some texture. It's also going to give it a different taste. It's going to be that bite of spinach that we love so much. And we know that it's going to be delicious. So that's one layer. So let's get 3 more of our lasagna sheets. Put it on there just like that. Again, we're going to repeat with the 3 heaping spoonfuls of ricotta and mozzarella mixture. And that's all. We're only doing 2 layers. And as you can see, it's going to be just enough. I mean, just enough. Use all that. We're going to spread this out. And we're going to cover it with some mozzarella. So, this is what our first lasagna looks like. I'm going to cover it with some aluminum foil, and we're going to put it in the oven for about 30 minutes. 30 to 40 minutes, I'll check it. So let's put this one aside and let's build our vegetable lasagna. Oh, we're going to start off the same way. And if my recording seems a little bit different from earlier, it's because, or from the earlier versions, it's because my phone stopped recording. So I'm actually recording on my son's iPad. Okay, so we're going to layer our vegetables just like we did our meat. So it looks like this. Then we're going to take our pasta. Now for this, because this is a smaller one, we only need 2. We're going to take our ricotta and this is going to have a little bit more cheese. Oh, this thing flat. All right, we're going to spread this out like so. And again, this is the ricotta and mozzarella cheese mixture. We're going to do the same thing with this one that we did with the regular. Is we are going to go ahead and instead of mixing the spinach with the other vegetables, we're just going to do 1 layer of spinach. And this is a whole entire bag of spinach that I blanched and water with a bouillon cube. You could use chicken stock, vegetable stock. It just gives it that flavor so that you don't have to season it. I show you every step. That looks delicious. Now we're going to do the meat. No, it's not meat. We're going to do the vegetables again. This one is definitely going to be much thicker because it's in a small pan. Make sure we put the mozzarella on here. Just like that. My daughter is going to love this. And we know that we only need 2 of these. We're going to put all the rest of the ricotta cheese. We don't waste anything in this house, let me tell you. Look at that. More vegetables. A lot more vegetables. You know what? It's just gonna be thick because we putting it all on there. Look at, oh, that looks so scrumptious. And we are going to finish it off with some cheese. There we go. And then I have some mozzarella slices left. We are just going to put on there just like that. And then this one is complete and is heavy. So we're going to put these in the oven. I'm going to cover them with some foil and we'll be back. Okay, I am about to take the lasagna out. I did let it cook for about 35 minutes with the aluminum foil on, and then I took the aluminum foil off. And now we're going to take it out of the oven. The vegetable lasagna began to spill over, so I had to put it on a tray. But there it is. And then our meat lasagna. Ooh, looks gorgeous. Now I'm going to take our garlic bread, which is prepared, and I'm going to put that in there. It looks so good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let it rest, and then I'm going to add some fresh herbs. We're going to have our garlic bread, and it is going to be the end of this video.